Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Well, guys, Bitcoin just continues to crush the hopes and dreams of the Moon Boys as we just continue trending lower and lower. I do feel for the Moon Boys, as I too would love a parabolic run right about now, but I'm also a realist, and more importantly, I'm a trader. And as a trader, setting my desires aside and just trading the charts for what they are rather than what I wish they were has been very rewarding. I hope you are not only surviving, but also thriving in these conditions, especially those of you following along in these live streams. And for those of you in my private Telegram, because guys, I have been warning and warning and warning and warning about the fact that the charts are showing a very clean down trend. Basically, that's all there is to it. Keep setting lower lows and lower highs. And although it's not the direction that we all prefer, it is what it is at this time. And it's been a very clean and healthy trend, which has made it predicting this trading market. I mean, predicting and trading this market have both been surprisingly easy, contrary to popular belief recently. But guys, for those of you who are interested in learning and seeing more examples of some of my personal trade strategies, some of my setup ideas, how I use fibs, how I use market structure, you just want more of my thoughts and warnings on the market in general, do yourselves a favor and get in my Telegram by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description down below. But guys, like I said, I mean, I've been warning about this. The weekly chart has had me quite bearish for about 5 or 6 weeks now. And unfortunately, things went from bad to worse last night with our weekly close, which I was warning about in last night's stream about an hour before we got our candle close, just because things were looking quite rough. And I just want to start on the weekly here, guys, just to see how bad this weekly candle did close last night. This is the logarithmic chart, so take with that what you will. But even going to the regular chart, you guys notice that we got a clean close below that trend line I was warning about. Even got a nice little pump this morning, basically retested it, just coming a little bit shy, but basically retesting it and seeing a bit of rejection. Of course, with our bias check, I mean, things just look very bullish, like it's a nice big breakout when we look at the chart inverted like this. But more importantly, guys, and more of a time frame that we're actually trading, because I'm not trading the weekly chart. I'm more so trading the shorter time frames based on what I see in the weekly chart. But overall, the 4 hour is kind of the longest time frame where I'm actually trading. And guys, like I said, I mean, this downtrend has just been so absolutely beautiful. As long as you don't have a bias that you're glued to the moon boy mentality, if you're just looking at the trend for what it is, this is basically where we lost our higher trending, higher lows, higher highs on the trend on the 4 hour. That happened on October 7th. Tomorrow, it is literally going to be 6 entire weeks that this trend has not broke a single lower high on the 4 hour chart, you guys. I know a lot of people would want to argue with me that, oh, well, what do you call all this? Oh, we took out this high. Those are not confirmed lower highs on the trend, right? If I'm going to take away the indicators just to show you here. But basically, when we started setting this downtrend, when we got our big liquidation event about a month ago, since that, I mean, we never got another lower low till back here. And unfortunately, we never did end up breaking any sort of lower high on the trend up here, obviously. After setting this lower low, that confirms this as our lower high. We then set another lower low, confirm this as our lower high, another lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And currently, just this morning, we created another lower low, which now confirms that we have another lower high on this 4 hour trend. The trend continues 6 weeks later. Even if we get some sort of a bounce here, I'm not saying necessarily short right here. I mean, you definitely want to be shorting at resistance. But unfortunately, even if we get a bounce right now, and much like the one we saw this morning, I saw people getting bullish on social media, basically as we got this bounce this morning. But guys, that bounce this morning was nothing but a retest of resistance. I mentioned this on my stream yesterday that we had this low, we had a lower low. So if we get some sort of a bounce, we can expect our lower high currently, well, at the time of yesterday's video, that our lower high was sitting here around 96.8 thousand US dollars, because that was the highest point between our last low and lower low. And guys, let's just look at this, right? This is the one that I pointed out on stream yesterday. Let's pull from that lower high, the confirmed lower high, to our lower low, and notice where the trend ends up running into problems. We end up testing that 786, and then we dump from there to a new lower low, confirming that we have our downtrend just continuing, basically. So at this point, since we now have another lower low, I would basically be looking at pulling a fib from our confirmed lower high at about 96,050 US dollars. So if we end up trending to the downside even further, then this fib range will change a little bit. But at this point, let's just pretend that we bounce right here where we are so far. We still have a downtrend. Even if we come all the way up towards 95,000, even if we come up all the way to 96,000, you guys, we still have a downtrend. We still have not broken a lower high on this 4-week trend for tomorrow, like I said, will be literally 6 weeks without breaking a lower high on this trend. And people are telling you on social media that, all-time highs are around the corner, that we're bullish, that we're going to new highs. There is literally, excuse my language, there is literally fucking nothing in this chart suggesting that we have to go to new highs. Anything reaching for new all-time highs at this point is pure hopium. It is people guessing on fundamentals. If the fundamentals do matter, because I know I take a little bit of grief from time to time when I say this, that fundamentals don't matter. That's not entirely true. Fundamentals do matter, but they don't matter if the chart isn't lining up with it. If we see that we end up breaking this downtrend and then we start finding support and staircasing higher, the way exactly the opposite of what we're doing right now, yeah, absolutely, I will be a moon boy and I will take those bullish fundamentals seriously. But at this point, no matter how much hopium and bullish fundamentals get rammed down our throats, we just keep setting new lower lows and lower highs. And what the hell is bullish about that, you guys? I'm sorry to sound a little bit harsh today, but so many people are getting wrecked by listening to the wrong people on social media. And we have been all over this trend, you guys. Just notice the difference between an influencer and a trader, because a trader knows that this very basic market structure, and I'm talking, guys, this kind of market structure is literally day one analysis. This is day one technical analysis and chart structure. We are literally looking for higher highs for an uptrend, and we're looking for lower lows for a downtrend. We have been setting lower lows for, like I said, about 6 weeks at this point. So unfortunately, it is what it is. But so many people get into trading, and if that sounds like you, I mean, don't feel bad, because it's so hard when you start getting wrapped up in social media and the hopium out there and the constant bullish calls, because that's what clickbait, that goes the best for clickbait, basically. But because everyone wants to feel warm and fuzzy and think that their investments are going to go to the upside. But guys, we have to look at things realistically here. This chart, there is nothing suggesting that we have to bottom here. I mean, we can, like I said, if we start bouncing towards 95, 96K, we're going to see FOMO again. We're going to see retail starting to get excited right into resistance, as always happens, and likely continue the downtrend from there. Now, full disclosure, this will break eventually, right? I mean, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one where you finally say, you know what, Stu, you've been right. I'm going to take this STUBER setup, and all of a sudden that one fails. Eventually the trend is going to fail, but I'm not willing to bank on it failing until it actually does. If we end up setting, breaking that lower high structure and then coming back for some sort of a bullish retest of support, then yeah, I will start swinging at some longs in that case. But we don't have that, and we haven't had that for almost a couple of months at this point. So just be really careful out there, you guys. Another thing I want to bring up just for that confluence is I always look at, so this is another thing that I need to mention, you guys. Like I said, day one technical analysis, basic market structure of lower lows or higher highs, depending which way we're trending. A lot of people like to overcomplicate things, bring way too many indicators into things and go a little bit chart blind. Understand that, yes, I have certain strategies I use with certain indicators. However, for me, it's always market structure first. And second, I am looking for those confluences with indicators, whereas a lot of people get that backwards and start to look for confluences that favor their personal opinion or their bias or their gut feeling, rather than, looking for it to confirm the structure. Right. So at this point, let's bring up the MDX Trendmaster, which I talk about all the time, you guys. Been warning about this, that we've had this nasty lower buy signal, lower sell signal ever since up here around 110K. I've been warning about this, you guys. And that blue line, that resistance of this indicator just continues pushing us to the downside. And we have market structure backing that up. We're setting lower lows. We're also setting lower sell signals, right? So it's a very nasty looking trend. I mean, unless you're bearish, then it's a beautiful looking trend. But yeah, just like I said, there's several things lining up for further downside. Let's bring up the liquidations indicator. There may not be too much more liquidity below us, but as I was saying yesterday on stream, there is so much liquidations and liquidity above us that, yeah, I agree. Eventually, we should see some sort of a bounce. But anytime we get any sort of bounce, we start seeing retail FOMOing in and building liquidations to the downside as well. And the market makers seem good enough with grabbing that little bit rather than the whole shebang here. Yeah, eventually it's going to break. Eventually we're going to grab a bunch of liquidity. But until that happens, it is what it is. Sometimes liquidity gets skipped, so we don't know for sure what's going to happen there. What else here? I want to bring up the retail long short indicator, which I like to bring up on pretty much all my streams at this point. Guys, look at this, right? This green line here, this is retail traders longing. So everyone's saying that, oh, everyone's so bearish. That means that we need to climb. If everyone's super bearish on social media, then they are just pretending they're winning because retail here, I mean, we can watch this indicator. This indicator literally shows us where retail traders are FOMOing into the wrong positions at all the wrong times. You can see that almost every time as we get towards a resistance level, something like this. Notice that's exactly where the longs start to climb. And even right now, guys, as we drop this support, you can see that retail is still literally, guys, we have been dropping literally tens of thousands of US dollars on this trend, and retail is still very desperately, while they're getting wrecked, trying very hard to catch some sort of a reversal because they still think that we need to go to new all-time highs. Don't get me wrong, we absolutely can, but let's wait until the chart actually suggests something like that. If we say retail, one thing that I will be watching for is, like in the title says, I'm watching that 86K level. That is by no means me thinking that we're bullish if we drop to that level. It's basically looking at it as some sort of a bounce play, just because there's a potential STUBER fib setup if I pull a fib from this pivot down here, basically. Honestly, I have concerns about that because it's kind of in the middle of a trend. And since we lost the main trend, I would be more so looking from where this swing began, which would be the start of our market cycle. And that fib was line up closer to 40,000 US dollars. But you know what? That doesn't mean we're going to go straight there. We're likely going to see some bounces if it even happens. But yeah, basically this target here would be approximately $86,000. So yeah, it's possible we get a bounce there. And if we do, trust me, social media is going to once again say, oh, that was the final shakeout. Bears are stupid, et cetera, et cetera. And likely they are going to get FOMO at resistance again and then get wrecked once again. I could very much so see that happening. So just be careful with something like that. But I would not be surprised to see that if we do end up dropping to these support levels, at that point, I would basically expect, because retail loves shorting into support just like they love longing into resistance, I would be under the impression that once we start getting towards these bigger support levels, at that point, I would expect to see retail start stepping in with shorts, getting FOMO for the short side, finally giving up at support. And that would actually give us fuel to the upside, right? If retail starts shorting into support, that's where we can get an actual bounce. But so far, all we see is retail FOMOing long at resistance. And even at support, even here, I wouldn't disagree that, hey, we actually have some decent support over here. But the fact that retail kept trying to long just gave us fuel for the fire, right? Just pushed us right through that little bit of support that we potentially had. I want to jump over to the 1 hour chart just to get a more, I guess, current price action. And again, guys, I mean, this is getting ridiculous. The fact that retail is 78% long is absolutely ridiculously high. Eventually, we're going to see a flip and retail is going to start shorting. And that's when we will see a pump. But at this point, it just looks like those longs are still climbing, right? When we were at our highs back here, look at that indicator below me, below the chart. Notice that that green line just steadily climbed as we just dropped to the downside because retail kept trying to catch the knife, thinking that we need to be near a bottom, thinking that we have to go to new all-time highs, just desperate to catch that big reversal. And we just continue trending to the downside. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality. And this indicator just basically spells it out for us. Guys, for those of you who do appreciate the fact that I'm trying to be the level head in the market while everyone tells you the wrong things constantly, do me a favor. If you do appreciate these live streams, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because guys, we have been all over this trend, even right from 125.2K when I shared a short live with you guys. Ever since that, we have been all over this trend. So if you're really struggling and having a hard time keeping your emotions out of it, you need to be basically getting into my Telegram channel and continue watching these streams, because we've been all over it, you guys, and just looking at it for what it is. There's no emotions attached. I don't care about tweets. I don't care about announcements. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm literally looking at the charts and the chart structure for what they are. If the fundamentals happen to matter, the chart structure will back that up eventually. So until that happens, we're going to keep playing the trend. So yeah, if that is something that interests you, and guys, not that I'm a perma bear, right? Yeah, recently I have absolutely been all over this bearish trend, but that doesn't mean that I haven't taken some long positions as well. Aster, I still have a beautiful position running. But yeah, like I said, there is just such a nasty downtrend with us at this point. So if that is something that interests you, you want to see more examples, my trade setups, my ideas, my fibs, my market structure, just keeping a level head in general, do yourselves a favor, scan that QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. Guys, taking a look, let me know in the chat how you're all doing. By the way, I hope you guys are surviving. I truly hope you guys are absolutely thriving and crushing this market, because like I said, over and over, this downtrend has been, as long as you are looking at the trend correctly, it has been beautiful. It has been very clean. There has been no fake out wicks, no fake out, scam wicks, pump and dumps, nothing like that. It's all been very clean. Setting lower lows, getting some sort of recovery, retesting lower high resistance, and carrying on the trend. So let me know in the chat how you're all doing. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Been warning about a few different altcoins as well. TAO. On the 4 hour, I mentioned that we lost the higher buy signal on the MDX Trendmaster. That was a big red flag for me. Currently still respecting that sell signal. Tough to say yet at this point if we are going to recover fairly soon, or realistically, to me, it looks like we want to fill the majority of this wick. I would not be surprised to see us at least end up dropping to the 786, 886 if we get some sort of a higher low. But realistically, quite often we end up filling these entire wicks when we get them. So that's a bit of a nasty one. On the 5 minute too, it was basically printing lower trending sell signals on the MDX Trendmaster. I've taken a couple scalps basically, but when it gets into these trends of the lower trending sell signals, much like we had back here, some beautiful calls there. Solana, I actually did just today get stopped out finally of that Solana position that I was building. I'm totally okay with that. I am much more exposed to the downtrend at this point, but I'm willing to play those buy levels as they happen, right? So trading isn't about just winning every single trade. It's also about, when you take those losses, controlling them, right? So rather than FOMOing long way up here, I was actually buying in a support zone, even though it never worked out, whatever, it was a small loss. Ethereum, I still could lose this trade as well. I actually just ended up hitting my last order. I was mentioning this in the Telegram as well. Both of these, both Solana and Ethereum, that even though I wasn't bullish, a buy level is a buy level, basically. Much like how I felt with Aster when I took that long position way down here at about 84 cents. This thing is on a mission. It's actually performing quite well compared to the rest of the market. So I'm glad to leave that last 40% of my position running there. Yesterday on my live stream, I mentioned that Zcash was actually looking pretty rough, and I mentioned that I had been taking some scalps short on this guy. Yeah, basically in from the 786, I had mentioned that we had this bearish divergence on the RSI right as we were trading at this resistance pocket yesterday. So far, not quite at my first target yet. I think after this stream, I'm actually going to bump my stop loss to break even just because I don't really trust shorting Zcash, even though this is a typical Stuber setup and I like the confluences I have, everything like that. It's had such a strong bullish trend that it's a little bit scary to bet against. And, that's where position sizing and risk management comes into play. And at this point, I don't want to take a loss on this position anymore. So I'm bumping stop loss to break even on that one. But so far, guys, I mean, Bitcoin is still my main priority at this point. I really would not be too surprised to see us get some sort of a bounce. Technically, a little Stuber already did play out. At one point, I did actually take, where was that? I think it was right here. I ended up taking a scalp long earlier. I closed it out for a small profit just because we couldn't regain shit. We couldn't even reclaim this little bit of resistance here when I was looking at basically this as a lower low. Basically couldn't even get back above this, even though we did have a Stuber fib there, right? Because if I go from here up to there, we never even quite got to my first target, but whatever. I ended up backing out of that one just because I have so much more faith in the bears at this point. But here you can see that, just from an eyeball, I can tell a Stuber did play out here, that basically we had this structure, right? This was our low. We set a lower low here. That means this is our confirmed lower high. We ended up breaking it, and look what happens, right? We end up getting that pullback to the 786, basically perfect. And this would have hit my first couple of take profits here. And at that point, if you would have taken that scalp, you would just leave the rest of your position running in case that it does turn into a home run trade, right? Risk-free, basically. I myself, I am not in that trade. I am not all that interested in playing the long side, but at least it is a valid setup that did play out there. So just for educational purposes more than anything. Let me just catch up on the chat again, guys. If you do appreciate these live streams, just keeping a level head and honestly just being all over this trend with the pivot points and everything. This trend has been super predictable and we have been all over it. So if you guys do appreciate that, again, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you have not, if you're new here. You don't want to miss these live streams. Like I said, we've been all over it. Glad to see so many familiar faces in here, you guys. Love to see that you guys keep coming back. Currently I have about 25 people watching, so love to see it. Hopefully all 25 of you guys, 27 now, hopefully all of you are hitting that thumbs up. I'm not going to name everybody here, but I do see all your comments, so thank you guys for joining. Love to see you guys. Best alts to short. That's an interesting question. Myself, I've been mostly shorting Tau, and Zcash is that other one that I'm hoping to catch a nice runner on eventually, but I'm quick to update my positions on that one. But so far, I've been mostly shorting Bitcoin and mostly looking for those long positions on altcoins, other than a couple of them when the trend shows like that. What is that blue number on that indicator? 96. I assume you're talking about the Trendmaster indicator. Yeah, so that would basically be the resistance of the Trendmaster. Both of these blue lines, I would treat them both as resistance. But yeah, that's 96,633, basically. I would give it a little more wiggle room. Basically, if this downtrend's going to continue, I'd want to see us stay basically below 97.4K. But realistically, the lower high is a little lower than that, right? The lower high is currently at about 96,000, or even call it 96,050 US dollars. But yeah, that indicator resistance is also closing in on the price. So again, just another reason to be a little bit bearish that if we get some sort of a bounce, there's just so much resistance ahead of us. So the bulls have a lot of work to do. Adrian, yo, Stu, did you check on the bulls? I thought I heard faint signs of life. I'm pretty sure that I heard a heartbeat somewhere, but yeah, not looking so good for the bulls at this point. Waiting for the 10K daily down wick in BTC. I mean, I would love to see it, as I have some short positions open, but I don't know if we're going to get a 10K candle. It's absolutely possible. But that would be a nasty one. I would say that we have a better chance of recovering if we get some sort of a capitulation wick with a nice strong buyback, even if it's just like what we saw when we ended up basically losing our uptrend on that big liquidation day. Even something like that, even though it never held overall, it did at least provide us with some sort of a range where there was signs of life. So, if we get a big capitulation candle, maybe that would be enough to turn this market around. I would love to see this market turn bullish again. I just have zero reason to think that it is until we at least break a lower high on the 4-hour. The fact that it hasn't happened in 6 weeks as of tomorrow, that's concerning. There's no other way to put it. The bears are in full control, you guys. I hate to say it, but that's just a fact. That is not personal opinion. That is not a bias. That is literally just what is in the charts. So if I offend anybody by saying that, I'm sorry, but trading, there's no room for emotions in this market. Let's put it that way. This market will eventually crush those emotions out of you, as it has me. And then you just start looking at things with a level head from a structural point of view. And that's where back testing comes in. That's where having a systematic trade setup comes in. Because if you're trying to rely on those gut feelings based around global economy fundamentals, you're going to have a bad time. I know because I was there years ago. Sandy, doing great. Love to hear it. I saw yesterday you said that you prevented getting wrecked yourself. So I absolutely love to see that. Love to hear that you're doing good. What do I think about the 2-week trend line that goes back to 2014 without breaking candle bodies? Makes the bottom of that trend line sit at about 88K. 2-week trend line. Holy, I'd have to get into some custom stuff. That's one that I never look at. So to be honest, I don't really want to look at chart timeframes that I'm not familiar with, that I don't look at on a regular basis. And chances are it would very much so act the same, but maybe I'll even look at it on the regular weekly. But let's say you're talking going back to the beginning of 2020 or 2014 rather. And are you on the regular chart or the log chart? Because if I'm going back previous cycles, I'm definitely going to be looking at the logarithmic. I'm assuming you are talking about this guy, the start of 2015. Yeah, I don't know. I really have to manipulate that line to make it look any bit of bullish. Because as it stands, I would look at it from the previous market cycle here, and it looks like we have been flipping that for quite a while now. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, to be completely honest, but we'll see, right? The fact for me is that I like to I have very specific trend lines that I like to pull. I like them generally. Like this log chart is so freaking clean to me because it has 4 touch points on it before breaking out and retesting from the opposite side. Absolutely beautiful. But even this chart right here, the fact that we ended up getting such a clean close below that, retesting it from the bottom side. I just remember what happened last cycle when we saw something like this. And basically, this is what I'm talking about. I remember when this happened. And I remember when we went to Nuketown. And I think that we have something very similar at this time. Does not have to play out the exact same. But, as it stands, we've lost very important levels. The bulls have not been able to regain shit, even on the lower time frames or the mid time frames. So I just have no reason to get overly bullish at this time until, like I said earlier, if we break that 4-hour downtrend and get some sort of a support retest, that's completely different, right? Like even right here, all the bulls had to do to make me completely change my opinion today, at least for the short term, was go like this before it came down. If it had just gone that extra a little bit, it would have looked very similar, but we would have had different structure. We at least would have had some sort of bullish momentum on our side that we took out a lower high. But as it stands right now, we just can't do it. We just keep confirming lower highs on this trend. Hey, Stu, great work. Thanks for your streams. Well, thank you for joining my streams. And thank you for the kind words. I hope you're crushing it. I hope you're all crushing it. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. I just really wanted to bring you a level-headed stream and point out those important levels. Like I said, especially on the 4-hour, the fact that we keep just setting lower lows, confirming lower highs for the last 6 weeks. I just want to be the voice of reason. I know there's a lot of panic in the market right now and a lot of people being unsure, but just understand that understanding very basic market structure compared to the entire global economy and listening to those who are saying the things that you want to hear. Just understand that a little bit of homework with back testing and understanding lower lows or higher highs to kind of navigate your way around which way the market's trending, that goes such a far way. So again, for those of you who are interested in learning and seeing more examples, how some of my favorite trade strategies work, some of my trade setup ideas, how I use fibs, how I look at market structure, some of my warnings in general, do yourselves a favor, scan that QR code on the screen, get in the channel, or click the link in the description down below. That should also take you there. And my partners at BloFin, this is currently the last day for this deposit bonus. So you've got basically a couple out, maybe, I'm not sure what time that would be my time. I don't know what time it is UTC currently, but keep your eye on that because that should be wrapping up tomorrow, basically, the current deposit bonus. So if you want to take advantage of that last minute, now is your chance, basically. Other than that, my friends, thank you so much for being here with me once again. I wish you nothing but the best of luck out there. I really hope you guys continue. Well, I hope you are crushing it. And if so, I hope you continue to do so. And just try and keep a level head out there, you guys. I know things are crazy right now. I know the markets are insanely volatile, and I know they're not trending the direction that we would all like to see it move. But overall, as traders, just understand that this market structure is still very clean and very predictable. So I hope you guys are crushing it. With that, my friends, I will likely be back for another tomorrow. You guys stay safe out there, my friends. Until next time, keep fit and have fun. Peace out.